Welcome to the first. You have a story. If you look back on your life, you've done things for the first time that no one in your family, in your town, in the country has done. This is Dr. Sandi. You have unknowingly paved the way for others without knowing it or even acknowledging it. This is where you tell your story so that those who come after you can walk in your footsteps to build their own firsts. Dr. Salisha Allard-Blaisdell is paving the way in her family, friends, and colleagues by being the first person in her doctoral cohort at Northwest University to complete the Ph.D. degree. Then she became the first woman of color to defend a Ph.D. dissertation at Northwest University. Now, can you imagine all this, that she learned how to read at the age of 12? Dr. Salisha was adopted from the island of Grenada, and she was the first person in her birth family to pursue and obtain an advanced degree, hopefully beginning a generational legacy. She's also in the process of launching her new nonprofit, the Shara Foundation, to honor her adopted mom, who was instrumental in her success. You can find Dr. Salisha on her email at salisha@sharafoundation.com. She's on LinkedIn, and her Instagram handle is salish_951. And she will soon have a brand new website, www.sharafoundation.org. Let's welcome Dr. Salisha. Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Sandi. We're on the podcast, The First with Dr. Sandi, where we talk about the things we've done for the first time and the legacy that we'll leave behind. Today, my guest is Salisha Allard-Blaisdell, Ph.D. And welcome, Salisha.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sandi. It is absolutely a pleasure to join you.
And I should say Dr. Salisha.
Yes.
That's part of what you have as your first. So tell me a little bit about yourself and about your business, what you do, and about your first.
Okay. Well, I am Dr. Salisha Allard-Blaisdell. What I do currently, I am so happy to actually launch my nonprofit. It's called Shara Foundation. It has been officially registered just a few months ago, and I'm really, really excited for that. In terms of what I do, I currently serve in the capacity as a development director for a Utah-based nonprofit called GK Folks Foundation. So a lot of the things that I do is building relationships with community partners, finding funding, and helping with the execution of some of our major events. In terms of my first has to do with becoming the first woman of color to ever defend a PhD at Northwest University. And I recently celebrated my first year of that. I actually defended back in May 7th, 2022. So that is really exciting. It has a huge accomplishment for me.
What was that path like in going on to getting your doctorate and, you know, being the first colored person to do that?
Yeah, just looking back, it has been absolutely a phenomenal, almost impossible dream to see come to fruition. So I am originally from the Eastern Caribbean, a small island called Grenada. My birth mom, she passed away when I was 9 years old, and my birth dad passed away when I was 15. So I was an orphan. I did not learn how to read until age 12. So up until age 12, I had no clue as to how to read and write. In fact, I retained 2 grade levels at the primary school or elementary school level because I wasn't able to read and write at my age group. So having the opportunity to learn to read, there was this remarkable woman that supported me during the time of my mother's absence. She died from cancer. This woman that was helping to take care of me, she taught me how to read. Her name is Miss Joan Hercules. She's a phenomenal woman. She taught me how to read, how to sing, and pray. So those are three things that we always did. Whenever she saw me, she helped me with those things, learning to read from newspapers, hymn books, the Bible, like
Yes.
how she has trained me. And it was just remarkable to go from not learning how to read until age 12, completing secondary school, coming to the US, obtaining a bachelor's. I actually hold 2 master's degree and a PhD, and I was able to do that at age 32. So I obtained my PhD at age 32, and it was like, oh my goodness, how was that even possible? But it definitely was possible because I have such a remarkable support system. I cannot even tell you how amazing I have had the ability to get support from such a strong support system.
Yeah. And is Mr. Hercules still alive?
Oh, yes. So she currently lives in Grenada. So yes, she's alive and living in Grenada. And I was adopted. So I have American family. I have a mom and dad who lives in Nevada, here in the US. And they have been 2 of my biggest cheerleaders, supporting me to achieve my academic my academic goals. And the nonprofit that I told you a little bit about just earlier, Shara Foundation, is actually named in honor of my adopted mother. Her name is Shara. She goes by Shara, so I named that foundation in her honor.
That's so amazing. I was listening to Cameron Hall yesterday, and I really have my TV on while I work during the day, and somehow it was just there. And there was this young man, well, he's not young anymore, he's 36, but he started a foundation for youth who were either orphaned or their parents left them to the, to the system. And so they would move from home to home to home. And he started an organization that helped the young boys, particularly. He started with boys. And it's now like a huge organization. But he was a teenager when he started it. And he said one of the young boys, he used to ride his bicycle and ride motorcycles. And one of the young kids came to him and said, "Sir, can you help me fix my bike?" And he said, that was it. I'm like, your dad won't help you? And he's like, I don't have a dad. And he said right away, I said to myself, well, I didn't have a dad or a mom either. And I'm going to help you.
Oh, nice.
And, so your organization, what is the purpose of your organization?
Absolutely. So Shara's foundation really focuses on amplifying the education, health, and empowerment of youth in Grenada. And we're specifically targeting underprivileged youth who come from very similar backgrounds to myself. So for my PhD research, for example, I did conduct an international study where I looked at the resilience of some of the most academically and financially disadvantaged schools in the country. So I had a sample from 4 of the secondary schools there, and the students, they live within those communities where they're highly under-resourced. And my findings were so brilliant. Like I found that despite the struggles that these students are encountering on a daily basis, they are still very resilient, and their resilience will actually improved or enhanced when leadership traits were present. So like leadership traits such as determination, confidence, and sociability, when those were present and when the students engaged in certain extracurricular activities, their resilience went up. So for this reason, I really focused on creating Shara Foundation that supports education for these youth. So for this year, we're currently working on a back to school supply launch or a drive. So I anticipate sending about 200 school bags, like backpacks, back to Grenada that is that has several things, several items in it, including sanitary napkins for the girls, socks and notebooks, pens, you know, those kind of stuff that a lot of the students do not have and are in dire need of. And then Shara Foundation would also be the umbrella organization for Friends of Ray, which is an orphanage that I will be establishing there. As I mentioned earlier, I was an orphan for a certain period of time in Grenada, and I did live in an orphanage for a period of time shortly after my mom's my parents' passing, when my mom died. So it's just incredible. I'm really excited for what the future holds in terms of Shara Foundation being able to support some of the most under-resourced communities, specifically focusing on youth. I am very passionate about the positive development of youth and enabling them to thrive.
I'm with you. I am so with you. I actually could probably give you some ideas about that. My family from Jamaica, my mom mainly, the community where she lived is mostly all family that started that community.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, we went back and did beautification of the schools.
Nice.
We would fix the furniture. We created a computer lab where we bought computers and shipped computers and paid for a computer teacher.
Nice.
We started a welding program for the men.
Yes.
And seamstress, dressmaking for young ladies, because not everybody goes to college or can afford to go to college. And so they needed some kind of occupation.
Yes.
Yeah, technical skill,
mm-hmm.
plumbing, electrician, all of those things. And it wasn't being given to them because they weren't funded. The school system wasn't funded. So we decided to form an organization to fund that. And we brought doctors and nurses down. That was their vacation, was to go help give back to the community. The older people, some of them didn't have medication. And, we sent books every year. We created a scholarship fund. Like, I could really just turn over my stuff to you.
Yes, I would love all the support, the guidance that I can receive. It sounds very similar as to what I'm hoping to accomplish. Yes.
Nice. And I've not been to Grenada. Well, no, that's not true. I went on a cruise ship and we stopped in Grenada, but that's not really. That's not really being to Grenada.
No, you got to actually go there for at least a week to explore.
And I never went. My uncle lived there for maybe 25, 30 years.
Oh.
And he always came to visit me. And when we took the cruise ship, he came to visit us. But that's all I know of Grenada. So you too can organize come back to Grenada.
When I'm going, then you gotta tag along. We gotta go together.
Yes, I absolutely will. So do you have siblings, birth siblings?
Yes.
Or is that just you?
I do. So my mother, I am number 6 of 8 children. So my mom had 8 of us, and so I do have 7 siblings who currently resides back in Grenada, like my birth siblings. And as far as my adopted siblings, I have 4 adopted siblings here in the U.S.
So do you, do your siblings, do they know and celebrate this great accomplishment that you've had?
Absolutely. My siblings, both in Grenada and in the U.S. I mean, I could not have gotten through any of my schooling without, having access to calling and crying and giving up and them telling me, oh, you got this, celebrating me or pushing me on. So no, I couldn't have done it without them. And they're very much involved in my life and in my success and my hardships and everything. Yes.
What are some of the things that you learned from going through this whole process of not just, getting adopted, but to have this education honor of being the first colored person? What have you learned from that? What kind of lessons have you had?
You know, one of the things that I feel that definitely resonates with me or keeps coming back to me is that no matter where you started, you can accomplish great things. It doesn't
Yes.
matter where you started. You definitely can accomplish great things, but all you need, aside from your own aspirations and your own determination, you need at least one person to believe in you. You need a strong support system. And that is what fuels my drive to make Shara Foundation such a successful organization in terms of the impact that we're going to create. Because a lot of the youth in Grenada, like they are born in what they're born into. Like, you know, for my family, for example, I was born into a multi-generational cycle of poverty. Like it's just poverty, poverty, poverty.
Right.
You know, I am the first person in my biological siblings to attend college, you know, to obtain like at least a bachelor's degree or anything like that. And it's just because we were born into poverty. So there are so many of the youth at home who are in situations because that is just the situation they're born into. But I want to be almost like an example to them that, hey, you can become greater than you think you can. And I know what they need is not just looking at somebody. They need to have the drive and the aspiration, which I've found in my research. They have the resilience to keep going every day. They just need that support system.
Right.
And mission to provide that support to them. Something else that I learned is that, you know, the more hardships that you endure, the more hardships that comes your way, the stronger you become. I mean,
Yes.
at the moment, you just don't want to deal with stress. Like you're like, no, please take this cup away from me, right? But once it's all said and done, you realize that each experience that you would have had along the way prepared you for something bigger. Maybe it's a bigger challenge or a bigger win or a big opportunity. But all those little incremental experiences that you would have had, especially, you know, the hard ones, they make you so much stronger for what is to come in the future. So I think those are the top two lessons that I have learned throughout this process.
Do you think the generation coming after you that are looking at you and they're going, you know, Dr. Salisha did that, so yeah, I know I can do that. What kind of impact do you think you're making on those people?
Oh, I think I'm making a very great and positive impact on them because it's very helpful to see somebody who not only looks like you, but who understands your experience
Yes,
because you've experienced it too. You know,
yes.
when I was in Grenada, when I tell you like I was dirt poor, like dirt poor, some days, you know, like your shoes is literally laughing, you know, like when the shoes is falling apart. I'm going to school with laughing shoes or wrinkled clothes and messy hair and all these things. I have been there. I have been there. I lived in a very old house.
But did you know it was wrinkled? Like if all the other kids.
Oh yeah, I got bullied. I
No.
knew it was wrinkled. The other kids reminded me of it.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible. I know when I was little and I used to go back to Jamaica every summer,
Mhm.
it was just fun. I just had pure fun.
Mhm.
As I got older, the house that we lived in got smaller
Mm.
to me,
Right.
right? Because when you're a little kid, it's a big house, and especially compared to the other houses in the neighborhood, it's a big house.
Mhm.
And when you are an adult and you see big houses or you even see your own little shack, you're like, why is this house so little? I don't remember this house was so little, right? And
Yeah.
then some of the things you're talking about, poverty, we were not wealthy.
Mhm.
I never went without, but I didn't understand what my family did to give those things to me, right?
Mhm.
And until you get older, you're like, wow, that's a big sacrifice that they made to do these
Right.
things. But you can't really see it. So it would be good to to let the kids who are going through it today understand that there is a way out.
Correct. Yes.
And they're smart. They're really smart, especially in this technology age. There's so many options of they could work in other countries while staying right at home, you know?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to do that with you.
Hey, you're gonna come with me when we get to Grenada, and we're gonna keep working. You're gonna, mentor me, if you will. Since you've
Absolutely.
done very
Absolutely.
similar projects as to what I'm trying to do or planning
Oh,
to do.
I can throw you. Oh my God. Still have the books, and it was a nonprofit. We created a foundation, and we stopped because it was sad, the reason why we stopped.
Yeah, why?
The generation, my mom's generation, they're all old, and they're the ones who really went to that school and, got us involved because we didn't really go there. But they got older, they started moving away. Some of them passed away, quite a few of them passed away because of age.
Yes.
And the generation, like my generation, who should have picked up the torch and carried it on, I tried for a while, but I don't have that vested interest. I didn't really live it, right? So when you live it, when you go back, it means a lot more. And I tried to carry, but it was just too much for one or two people to carry. And so I stopped it. I still get calls today about resurrecting it, but I still fundraise. I still fundraise on my own and send, money and donations back to them. But yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. So were there any negatives about being first? Are there things you came across that was just a negative for you?
I'm not sure, as well. I mean, some of the hardships, I would say, had to do with the rigor of the program, if that's a negative, but it's not directly negative towards me. It's just what it is.
I'll give you an example. Someone said to me, I lost a bunch of friends when I started doing better than they were. And all of a sudden they thought, I would hear comments like, oh, you think you're this because you went and got, and that's a big negative that you don't expect, that you work so hard and your friends are going to think like you're better than them or something. So I've heard that, which is why I always ask, are there any negatives that come out of your success?
No, well, and let me tell you, so growing up with my dad, who was, by the way, very old, my birth dad, when he passed away, I was 15 and he was 74 years old. So I grew up with a very seasoned, older person in my life. One of the things he taught me at a very young age, and it's something that I live by every single day, is the saying, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So the people that I surround myself with are people that I am comfortable, or representation of my values, of the things that I care about and who I am as a person. So most of my friends, well, all of my friends were quite very happy for me and in my accomplishment. I mean, they have supported me in one way or the other. And people who probably were closer to me and are not in the same level of excitement, they perhaps now are in the acquaintance section.
Exactly.
So yeah, my friends are all happy.
I hear you. That's a harsh lesson to learn too. Yeah. Friends versus acquaintances.
Correct.
I had a whole birthday party dedicated to finding out who my friends were.
Wow.
And it's hard when you learn that some of your friends are, the biggest lesson I learned was I was not my best friend's best friend.
Yeah, that is harsh. That is hard. I mean, that's why communication is important, right?
Yes. But when you think about it, I could have been hurt by it, but I wasn't, because I might tell you some things and I might not tell you other things because I know what your reaction will be, right?
Mhm.
And so this is kind of what she said. She's like, you know, some of the things I tell you, there's one person I know I could tell everything to, and she won't judge me or anything. But I know that once I tell you something, it doesn't leave your head, like it stays with
Mhm.
you. And I said, that is so funny because that is true about certain things, because I'll reach out later and go, hey, I thought about something, you know, and I think I'm helping, but
You
she
make it
doesn't think
work.
it's helping. Yeah, she doesn't think it's helping.
Wow.
So that was an interesting thing. Friends,
Mhm.
acquaintances. I like that.
Yeah.
So I know you said Miss Hercules inspired you. Were there any other people that you pull strength from or wisdom?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, Miss Joan Hercules, she was the woman that taught me how to read, sing, and pray. Those are the three things that she was very influential in my life as a teenager or a early teen. Um, in my life. Somebody that is very dear and near to my heart is my godmother. So in Grenada, we have godparents, we have godmothers and sometimes
Yeah.
godfathers, but mostly godmothers. My godmother, her name is Edith Phillip. So this woman, I love and adore her so very much because she has never given up on me. I mean, she knew me from being the dirty foot little girl living in the old house, just my foot on the ground. And I used to be going on like my dad had goats and cows and sheep, and I always go in and tie the goat and sheep and walking on the ground with my dirty foot. And like she knew me from then. When she come, she always traveled back and forth to Canada, but whenever she come back to Grenada, she would bring me something. She would bring me into her big wall house
Oh,
and like help bathe me. And she took care of me even till
nice.
when I graduated with my first master's from Rutgers University. She came from Canada to attend my graduation. That was like, it's like, the first one she could have come to at the time. And she's now in her 70s. Like, she's not like, young and strong. And I mean, she's strong. She's great. She has great health, and we thank God for that. But she came to my graduation. She was the only, colored person from like, my home from Grenada that was able to come to the US,
Right.
come to my graduation. And she has been in my life. Like, I love my godmother because she's never given up on me. She's never treated me differently from when I was dirty foot to now my foot is clean. I mean, I'm not like all up there, but I'm definitely, my foot is not on the ground like dirty, like,
Listen,
without
Salisha,
shoes to
I
wear.
I thought it was fun to go barefoot.
Yes, no, of course it was fun, unless when it's a necessity.
That's a thing.
It's different. It's totally different experience. And
Period.
it's not just the dirty foot aspect, it's the
It's
not,
a mental too.
how you said you've never went without having. Well, I can tell you there are hundreds of times that I went without having, like
Yeah.
just not having nothing. And there are a
Yeah,
lot of kids in Grenada who still don't have, there are times they
that
go.
is true.
So it's very different having a little bit versus not having none
And
at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yes, and my dad, my adopted father, and my adopted mother, I definitely draw a lot of strength from them. I mean, these people, I call them angels, not even humans. They
Yeah.
they sent me from Grenada to college in Hawaii. I was 18 at the time, and that's where I was able to go to college in the US. And since then, they've been very involved in my life to the extent that they adopted me, their only adopted child. They have 4 biological kids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And one of the most special memories that I would cherish forever and ever is when we, during my adoption court hearing thing, the judge was asking, them and saying, okay, are you prepared to love this child, a 21-year-old, this person as much as you do with your other kids? And my mom looked at that judge guy and said, yes, she's the 5th child I've always wanted. And I'm like, oh my
Oh,
God, it was so special. It was so special. And my mom and dad and I, we have a very strong bond, a beautiful bond. I mean, they didn't need to adopt me. They didn't
Yeah.
have their own kids, and the kids are grown. I was grown, but they have loved me, and they continue to love me, and are very passionate about, my goals of, supporting the youth in Grenada, supporting the youth here, which I do while I'm living in Utah, in my current role. So they have just been so very
Oh, is that
supportive.
where you are in Utah now?
I am in Salt Lake City, Utah. Yes.
My gosh, I didn't know there are Black people in Utah.
Oh gosh, everybody says that.
So, I'm joking. I actually have good friends who are in Utah, and I always say that to them every time they come. Like, are
Yeah,
there?
they're
They
all.
opened up a Jamaican restaurant, I think. And
There's a Jamaican restaurant up in Park City, and then there's also a Jamaican food truck, like a mobile food
I'm
thing.
gonna ask her, but she's been there for like 25 years. And they opened up a restaurant maybe 4 or 5 years ago,
Hmm.
and they love it there. And I've never been to visit. Maybe that's another place
Yeah, make sure you hit me up when you come so we can connect. Yeah.
and I'm in New York, so anytime you're in this
Hmm.
direction, feel free.
Wow.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, to wrap this up, do you feel like you could do just about anything now that you've done, you I mean, this is a big mountain that you climb getting your doctorate, and
Uh-huh.
you have MBAs, and I mean, you're really at the peak of your knowledge, right? Or your learning. What do you feel is next for you?
To your question, if I feel I could do anything, I mean, oh my goodness, I certainly, when I finished and I got my diploma, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's next? I truly can accomplish anything that I put my mind to. I remember in one of my classes in my PhD, there we had to do a pitch or a big idea. It was a business class. And I worked really hard on the presentation. Everybody did. And when we went to present, the teacher be like, oh no, go back to the drawing board. And it was like, it was one of the most memorable, most shocking, most painful experience. Because you worked very hard, you
Right.
worked so hard. And to be told, oh, this is not good enough was definitely like, oh my gosh. But then getting the courage to get back up, go back to the drawing board, and then passing the class, ace in the class.
And you did better.
Yeah, shows that you can do anything. So in terms of what's next, really is focusing on branding Shara Foundation, really putting my heart and soul into something that I've been super passionate about for a very long time. I am hoping that within the next 5 years or so, I can really start making big movements towards the not a nonprofit, the orphanage that I'm hoping to build in Grenada. But before I even create my own orphanage, I definitely working towards creating partnerships with the current orphanage system there. Not that they're not great, it's just that it has been a dream and an aspiration of mine to enable, to support the youth there and to support the current orphanage system there by creating my own, and being a model as to what it should run like, what are the support that the youth should be receiving. So one of the things that I've been doing, I am a big advocate for women success. That is something that I do. I can
I'm
tell
with you.
you, I have supported at least 5 women with accomplishing the academic goals. And one of my most recent big win is that I just was able to support one individual in New York City who has been accepted into her doctorate as a nursing practitioner, DNP. She's been a nurse for 11 years, and she wanted to do her doctorate, but just didn't know. And I worked with her on the application stuff, the interview stuff, and now she's in. And she's somebody that is very passionate. She's from Grenada as well, very passionate about supporting Grenada. So I've been creating a system of support that of individuals who will in turn support me in ensuring that the orphanage and the work that we do in Grenada is very sustainable and successful. So just continuing to build strong network. I have a social worker on board because I am into leadership and business. I do not know a thing or two about social work and the cognitive development or social development of youth.
Right.
So having those people in my circle to enable me to ensure that I'm really targeting the positive youth development of the youth in Grenada is very, very important to me. So those are the things that is going to be happening within the next couple months, just continuing to build that network of a strong support system.
Do you think at some point you'll have to go back to Grenada for a while?
Yes, in terms of for a while, it might be a little bit tricky, but yes, I will be going back and forth to Grenada. I anticipate having, like a home in Grenada and a home here in the US where I will be traveling back and forth. But as far as like, okay, going to stay in Grenada for like a year or 2 or 3, that is not in my immediate future. I do have a 10-year-old, an American-born 10-year-old. And we have shared custody with my ex-husband. So like going back and forth would be a little bit tricky. I kind of have to create a sense of stability for her as far as her education is concerned. So I am not able to, I don't anticipate like going home for like 3 years at a time, but I do expect to be traveling quite a bit back and forth between like 2 homes somewhat.
Is the foundation going to be based here in the US supporting
Yes.
Grenada? Or?
It is a US based foundation. It is registered here in Utah. Okay. But the focus or the mission is really to support the youth in Grenada. So working with some of my team, well, the individuals here that I kind of shared a little bit to you about earlier, 2 of them are in New York, and I have some here as well. But we are working on formulating a team in Grenada, and I have some people already, like some of my advisory board people are in Grenada. So having a strong team in Grenada to help with the hands-on, on the ground work while we do a lot of the fundraising and supplying of the materials and stuff like that.
Yes, nice. This has been very interesting. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all of that.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about myself and my accomplishments. Yeah.
Anytime. And like I said, reach out if you need help with anything. I mean, I'm always willing to give or try to connect you to someone that can help you in any way or not. I have a big community of Grenadans here in New York too.
Oh yeah. Yes, I lived in New Jersey for about 3 years, and I've always visited Brooklyn, New York very often. So
the capital of the world.
Yes. When you're walking on like Utica Avenue,
yes.
It's very rare that you don't see somebody from Grenada. Like, so yeah, I am very
from anywhere. I've said to Utica Avenue, I used to live 1 block from Utica Avenue for years. And I would say, if you can't find it, whatever you're looking for on Utica Avenue, it does not exist in this world. And I've been right. Every time I go there and I want, someone says, oh, see if they have, I'm like, it doesn't exist. It's not at Utica. Maybe we need to create it, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing with us. And just give us some information about how to reach you. If someone wanted to reach you, how would they reach you?
Oh, okay. Well, my social media handles, well, on LinkedIn. First, you can find me on LinkedIn. Salisha Allard-Blaisdell is my, and I can provide you with the links to that.
Send me the info and we'll.
Yeah, and I can also, I'm also very responsive to emails as well. So I'll provide my email.
Okay.
But I'm always happy to meet and connect with new people.
Absolutely.
This is Dr. Sandi. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on the first, where no 2 stories are alike, even if the circumstances are similar. Let this discussion serve as inspiration for others to show what's possible, and more importantly, to produce seconds and thirds.